Hey, hey, hey. Happy Valentine's Day. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. 2024. This is live show 1020. If you're not overly familiar with this stream, let me point out, super casual. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and I usually chat a bit about something that's going on in the hobby as well. But we are certainly not doing any mental heavy lifting or engaging in any sort of rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging out, having some fun. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, you should, by all means, swing on over to thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live show, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you happen to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours, you can take part in chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in, and I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is the Motor City Madman himself. Yes, our good friend, the non-Ted Nugent Madman, is with us. He also happens to be one of our chat moderators. Roger Perdome and Typical DM, as well as Kevin King, are hanging with the gang tonight. I will also take a guess that possibly Sarah D., another of our chat moderators, may be lurking in the shadows here on Valentine's Day night. Or would it be just Valentine's night? Flaming Heron is popping in. So there is yet another of our chat moderators. Yes, we have a trio of chat moderators, so that in case, only one of them is available, they still get to wield that band hammer very effectively as well. All right, let's jump on into the news, because making its way into stores right now is Port Royal, the dice game from Pegasus Spiele. And here's the latest. The harbor of Port Royal is as lively as ever, and you need to find more sailors as quickly as possible. Across distant islands, you'll recruit helpful crew members and loot treasure when you find it. A pair of dice will toss you into unpredictable situations, but the more you risk, the further you can travel on your map. The first player to reach 20 points or succeed in sudden death will be the winner. Make a name for yourself amongst the adventurous denizens of Port Royal, the dice game. 4 different game maps gradually introduce new elements to the game, expanding player options and adding new challenges over time. Port Royal, the dice game, is for 2 to 5 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 20 to 50 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $34.99. when it lands in stores this month. I have heard some stores have this in stock, other stores do not. So as I mentioned, I believe this is heading on into stores as I speak. Kathy Evans is with us, as is Travis Williams. And yes, Sarah D is with us, says that she has painted hearts on her band hammer today. So if needed, she will give love taps with that. As you escort troublemakers out of chat. Although, let's be honest, we almost never have to throw anybody out of chat. But every once in a while, that does take place. But very rarely. On to the next news piece. Arriving in March from Off the Page Games is Harrow County, the game of Gothic conflict. Here's what I know. A witch named Hester was hung, burned, and buried under a tree. Sometime later, the family of Hester come to Harrow County to destroy it. But standing in their way is 18-year-old Emmy, who mysteriously has powers of her own. In this asymmetric combat game, Harrow County, the game of Gothic conflict, players can play as one of the protectors trying to rescue townsfolk, or as one of the family trying to destroy Harrow County. You can instead play as a third faction that originates from the surprise return of Emmy's twin sister, Cammy, who wants to rule Harrow County. Players activate mason jars to move their haints, undead creatures, around the hex-based board as they try to accomplish their missions. Combat is resolved using a never-before-seen cube tower that's actually built into the box. Finally, a third player can enter the game. Hester, the dead witch, buried under the tree. She controls the roots of the tree, and using the cube tower, Hester can infect haints on her roots, which causes a snake to be placed into its ear. That player can still control their haints, but now so can Hester. If Hester comes back to life, then she needs to eat the other legends to gain all her power back to win. In short, Harrow County is a thematic tactical game of territory control and enemy elimination to determine the fate of Harrow County. Harrow County, the game of Gothic conflict, is for 1 to 3 players, ages 14 and up, plays at around 45 to 90 minutes. It is going to carry an MSRP of $65 when it arrives on March 6th. And Off the Page Games releases games that are based upon comic properties, and Harrow County is a comic series through Image Comics. Excuse me, suddenly got awfully dry. That's much better. Anyway, Harrow County is a comic series from Image Comics. I don't know if it wrapped up or if it's still going on. I think it's been a while since I've seen any of our comic news pieces that featured Harrow County. But I think every once in a while there's still like one-shots that come out. Could be pretty interesting. I am intrigued seeing that it is 3 asymmetrical opponents going at it. One looking to save the county, another looking to destroy it, and another looking to rule it. While at the same time, you have an evil witch who may be returning to life. So quite a bit going on. All right, Russell Higgins is hanging with us tonight, as is Kevin R. Smith. So chat is off and running already. Let's talk about some role-playing game news, because the latest campaign supplement for Mutant Year Zero has arrived from Free League Publishing. I've got the skinny on Ad Astra. Through the tiny portholes of the space capsule, you see the city hanging weightlessly beneath the stars. Massive, sprawling, gleaming. A myriad of metal shapes connected by tubes and wires like a huge hanging mobile over Earth, the poisoned cradle of humanity. The thrusters of your capsule push you onward toward the maze of wires and ladders. Drawing closer, it becomes clear that there is something wrong with this star city. You float past large holes, torn wires, and cracked satellite dishes. It seems the apocalypse reached all the way to the heavens. Ad Astra is a thrilling campaign module for Mutineer Zero that takes the player characters from the devastated surface of Earth into orbit, out into the solar system, and perhaps further still. Ad Astra can be played standalone or as a direct continuation of the Path to Eden campaign in the Mutineer Zero core rulebook. The book also includes rules for playing Mutineer Zero in space and an overview of the solar system with ideas for further adventures. The 132-page hardcover is now available in stores. You can get it with a free PDF for an MSRP of $39.99, of course, if you order from Free League Publishing. Or you can grab just the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. And yes, we will have an opportunity to see Ad Astra at some point. I did speak with my contact from Free League Publishing, and I let them know that I still have not seen the Walking Dead universe stuff or Alien. There's, I think, 4 releases, including Ad Astra, that I have not seen, and she was not happy. She is pretty ticked off with their warehouse. So she had CC'd on an email that she had sent them asking, why the hell have I not received the various recent releases from Free League Publishing? So we will have an opportunity to see Ad Astra in the near future. I have to mention, though, I don't have a lot of Mutineer Zero. I've got the core rulebook, and then I think I've got 1 of the other hardcovers. I think this makes 5. And then, of course, there's some adventure releases. I think I've got 1 of them. I have 1 that's soft cover. But outside of that, I don't have all of the Mutineer Zero stuff. So I'm not necessarily really up to snuff on Mutineer Zero. It is a pretty cool game system, though. And the core concept is pretty interesting. And yes, I have played the video game of Mutineer Zero and thought it was really, really good. Agile Monk, Chris Lundgren, and W. Forge are with us tonight. Good to see the 3 of you popping on in. So let's see. The sequel to the well-regarded Brad Kerr old-school adventure, Hideous Daylight, has arrived by way of Ratti Incantati. I think it's Incantati. This is for the Cairn role-playing game. Yes, the Cairn role-playing game. I've got to scoop on Fabian's Atelier. The wizard Fabian is dead. The magic in his flying island sputters and fades. Brave adventurers will enter the wizard's floating workshop and unravel its mysteries before catastrophic failure sends the island crashing down to earth. From the pages of Brad Kerr's anthology Wyvern Songs, Fabian's Atelier is a puzzle dungeon and fantasy adventure module updated for the role-playing game Cairn. Fabian's Atelier is a follow-up to the adventure module Hideous Daylight, but may be played without any previous experience. This 33-page saddle-stitch A5 softcover is available now for $16. I am not familiar with Ratti Incantati. I guess that's how I'm going to pronounce it. It's like a rat, because the rat is on their logo. Almost like a rat incantation or something. I don't know. But this appears to be another publisher kind of along the lines of Exalted Funeral. Interesting. Now, I have seen this adventure because it is in Wyvern Songs, which was originally printed for Old School Essentials. But now I believe Hideous Daylight and this adventure, Fabian's Atelier, is converted over to Cairn, so you can get the adventure for Cairn from this publisher, Ratti Incantati. Well, that just rolls off the tongue, huh? Agile Monk says, well, Free League usually does a great job, so I say we give them some grace. Oh, yeah, I have no problems with that. It's a warehouse issue is what it seems like. So, I don't know. Chris Lundgren says, Jeff, did you ever see the series The Star Lost? I'm not familiar with that. Chris says they think its concept would make for a cool RPG. A group of humans must explore a vast starship to find the controls to save it from destruction. Similar to Metamorphosis Alpha? With the Starship Warden? Isn't that the name of the ship? Isn't that the ship in Metamorphosis Alpha? Isn't it the Warden? That all that's going on? Bandman says, Incantati is Italian for enchanted, from what they saw. There you go. Kevin King chimes in too. Metamorphosis Alpha? Which I would think actually predates Star Lost. Although, I gotta say, I've never heard of this series. Never heard of this series. Is it a TV show or is it a book series? So Kevin R. Smith says, yeah, the Warden is named after the game's creator, James Ward. Yes. I saw James Ward at GaryCon last year. Pretty sure. They said they were. That's who they said they were. So I'm hoping. I mean, they didn't tell me. Somebody pointed out, said, oh, hey, that's James Ward. I was like, oh, wow. All right, final news piece. There is a new bundle of holding which has arrived, and it features the SIG and Spark role-playing games from Genesis of Legend Publishing. Here's the deets on the deal. Adventurer! This new SIG and Spark bundle presents the indie tabletop fantasy role-playing games SIG, Manual of the Primes, and Spark by designer Jason Petrie at Genesis of Legend Publishing. Inspired by Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Planescape, Neil Gaiman's American Gods, and other otherworldly settings, SIG is a colorful cosmopolitan city at the nexus of the eternal planes of existence. It's the battlefield where the political factions fight for territory and a rough home for cutters hungry for coin and gold. Whether you're a clever spy, renegade sorcerer, or reckless smuggler in SIG, you're going to try to get rich or die trying. The standalone RPG SIG Manual of the Primes is based on Jason's earlier Spark. Both games emphasize player characters with strong beliefs and story-focused rules that challenge those beliefs with hard choices. In 2021, Jason adapted SIG as City of Blades, a setting for Blades in the Dark. Now you can get both versions of SIG plus Spark and many play aids for an unbeatable bargain price. For just $9.95, you'll get all 6 titles in the Genesis collection, which has a retail value of $64, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete SIG Manual of the Prime standalone core rulebook, plus the print and cut card decks, Faces of the City Between, and Codex of the Sage Collegium. SIG City of Blades for Blades in the Dark, the Spark role-playing game core rulebook, and a historical Renaissance-era superhero supplement for Spark and Fate Core, The Enlightened Man. These savings will run through February 28th. Nice. Interesting. I am not familiar with either of these role-playing games or the publisher. So nice to see a bundle of holding from a publisher or a company I've never heard of. Could be kind of cool. I dig the cover art. I think the cover art's fairly well done. So pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. So Kevin King says that what was that called? Star Lost is a Canadian science fiction show. Oh, brother. No, I'm joking. I am joking. Although, you know, we do know the Canadian science fiction shows can sometimes be a little hit or miss. Little hit or miss. Kevin R. Smith says, well, Metamorphosis Alpha was about the third role-playing game TSR released, unless Boot Hill was released in between somewhere. Honestly, I thought it's the second. Now, I could be wrong. But, of course, we had D&D. We also had, was it Sky Realms of Jorn or whatever, however it's pronounced? Was that the game that kind of came out of nowhere that TSR published? Then we had Metamorphosis Alpha. So I believe those were the first three TSR role-playing games. And then we had Gamma World and Boot Hill. I do not know. Oh, there we go. Kevin R. Smith says, Empire of the Petal Throne. Yes. Kevin is correct. That is what it is. I don't know why Sky Realms of Jorn popped in my head. I have never seen it. I have never laid eyes on it. So I have laid eyes on a little bit of Empire of the Petal Throne. Bill N. is with us, says they're here tonight because of their true love of games. Sweet. Very cool. Very cool. So, yes, there is some discussion of, shows looking kind of cheesy. Don't look at all the stuff that came out on sci-fi. There was a lot of stuff, or I guess we could say sci-fi. Oh, so Star Lost was 1973. Oh, so it predates Metamorphosis Alpha. Maybe that's where James Ward kind of got the idea. Walona's Cave is joining us once again. Welcome back. All right, so earlier I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG or maybe Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. I get 5% of most of the sales. Some of them I don't get anything on. I don't know what the deal. Maybe it's bundles or something. But for the most part, it's 5% or less of that sale comes my way. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. And thankfully, there are quite a few of you out there who use our banner ads and or visit paypal.me/thegaminggang, such as Kevin King, Marius Smith, and the Madman. And I have to point out, Kevin and the Madman made not small donations. So thank you very much for that. So the dispatch is going to continue in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Hey, son of a gun, it's refreshment time.
Come on, and taste the Pepsi way. Come on, and have a Pepsi day. Wrap a thirsty smile around it, raise a Pepsi up and down it. Come on, and have a Pepsi day. Come on, and make this day a celebration. Come on, and join the Pepsi generation. Come on. Have a Pepsi day.
Whopper burger, 2 fried sausage. Yes, can I help you?
Whopper and a root beer.
Hey, Lieutenant, can I have a Whopper too, huh?
Eddie.
All right, I'll have a regular Burger King burger and fries. Oh, look at him make that Whopper with all that pure beef. Why can't I have a Whopper, Lieutenant? You got one.
That's exactly why you can't. You see, Eddie, it takes 2 hands to handle a Whopper.
The burgers are bigger at Burger King.
Howdy, stranger. I hear you don't drink Wilkins coffee.
Yeah, so what?
Now, are there any other strangers in town?
Jaws. Jaws is the game where you try to fish out what's in the jaws of the great white shark.
I'm going for the camera. Made it.
But be careful, because if you remove the wrong piece, the jaws will get you. And you're out. Jaws, it's you against the great white shark and each other from Ideal.
Our show is on the air every morning, Monday through Friday here at Channel 9, WGN-TV, from 7 to 8:30. One of the big stars on the show, Phoebe, Bugs Bunny.
The plans are ruined! Guard! Les saboteurs! Les spies!
Ye Old Ray Rayner Show, 7 to 8:30, Monday through Friday on Channel 9.
My apologies to those of you out there who had taken some LSD before the show began. I don't know if that Pepsi commercial has put you on a good trip or a bad trip. I like that commercial. I've shared that a few times. So pretty cool. And yes, there's some discussion of the Jaws game. I had that as a kid. So I remember that. I remember the old tire that's in there. And then there's, if I remember correctly, there's a broken, I think, wheel from like a boat or a ship's wheel or whatever. So, yes. And I threw in the little promo for Ray Rayner at the end. The vast majority of you out there will not know who Ray Rayner was. But if you grew up around the same time period as I did in the Chicago area, as a kid getting ready to go to school, you would normally watch Ray Rayner. So there you have it. There you have it. So Agile Monk is talking about the Jaws game, a more flavorful version of Operation. I think Operation would probably be a bit more difficult. I think it'd be a little difficult. So W4 says, I hope that little Kittner boy isn't inside the shark. No, he's further down. He's in the belly. You can't pull stuff out of the belly in the game. Yes. I believe we had somebody new popping in. Game Cat. There we go. Game Cat is with us. So we've got a nice chat rocking and rolling. So should mention that the Modifius Entertainment Week continues. Today, I shared a first look at Dune Adventures in the Imperium, Sand and Dust, which pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. It is the Arrakis source book for the Dune role-playing game. Tomorrow, I will be sharing my first look at the second edition Fragged Empire setting guide, which I got to say, I was surprised at how much more colorful the setting guide book is than the core rulebook. Seems to have a lot more artwork in the setting guide. So Fragged Empire second edition looks pretty interesting as a post-apocalyptic role-playing game. So there is that. There is that. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about tonight. First of all, I don't know if any of you out there happen to see the article that Morris had posted on N-World today regarding Evil Genius Games. I caught wind of it. I took a peek at it. It is a pretty lengthy article, and it looks like it's got a lot of research invested into it. And it does not paint a very good picture of Evil Genius Games at all. In fact, the title of the article is The Rise and Fall of Evil Genius Games, because I guess a lot of people got canned. Something I wasn't aware of. It was not something that I was, aware of. I know people are surprised sometimes that it's like, you didn't know about that in the hobby, Jeff? And it's like, no, I didn't, because I'm usually invested in other things. You know, videos don't shoot themselves. Books don't read themselves. Games don't get played themselves for reviews and that. So I did not know that. But I had already heard previously with some folks were questioning what happened to all the Kickstarter money that had been raised. I think it was like $1.5 million. And then suddenly they couldn't pay freelancers and artists and stuff like that. So I don't know. W. Forge says that they read it and some of the staff quit. Yes, some of the staff quit. There's some controversy over, I guess, Evil Genius Games wants to be invested with blockchain and Web3 and anything that's related to cryptocurrency. I'm leery. Everybody. And yes, I know you could have gotten in on Bitcoin for, less than $100 a coin. Yeah, I get it. But still, I've also heard the stories of the various different cryptos that one day are valued at $500 million, and then a week later, they're valued at nothing. So Chris Lundgren is once again shilling for role-playing games at... Chris says that they just got their copy of Goons and Ghosts, which is a tabletop role-playing game about ghost busting. My words, not Chris's. Says the GM, the Ghost Master, describes the world while 2 to 5 players take on the roles of paranormal exterminators. Nice. Very nice. It is not a system that I am aware of. Anyway, so there's a lot of things going on in the article. I'm not going to repeat them simply because I don't want to misspeak. But it pretty much comes across if what's in this article is factual. And it seems as if the CEO of Evil Genius Games is not necessarily debating some of these things. But if all these, they're not really accusations, I wouldn't say. They're just statements of fact, really. At least as far as Morris is concerned over at N-World. But I have to say, best case scenario, this means that Evil Genius Games is rather problematic. And worst case, not a company that I want to associate with. So, the funny thing is, I was going to start sharing review. In fact, I've got 2 of them shot. I'm going to just leave them in the can. I was going to start sharing reviews of Everyday Heroes and those cinematic adventures that had been sent my way that I did an Everyday Heroes week, essentially. At this point in time, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off on that. I think it's probably in my best interest to learn a bit more about what's going on here. But, it seems like there was a lot of harassment going on at the company, as well as finances that disappeared. And then a lot of people did work for the company and never got paid. Flaming Aaron says, after I got the Everyday Heroes bundle from Humble Bundle. Well, you saved money. Kevin King says, so Everyday Heroes might not be around long. Well, they had that thing with Rebel Moon. They were supposed to be doing a role-playing game for Rebel Moon. And then that fell apart. In fact, Netflix, if I remember correctly, Netflix is the one who backed out of the deal because they said Evil Genius Games had breached the contract. And I think it was something along the lines of they were sharing information about the movie that they weren't supposed to share or something like that. But Netflix is the ones who claimed it was a breach of contract. So, No Linquisitor is with us once again. Good to see you. They said if Rebel Moon was a hit, that would be a shame. W. Forge says the movie Rebel Moon fell apart on its own. I have not watched it. I am, like many people, waiting for the director's cut because I had heard that the director's cut was better and made more sense. And, once again, it's, what do you expect? Well, come on. It's Zack Snyder. What do you expect? It's Zack Snyder. It's kind of a given. Although, didn't Zack Snyder do the updated Dawn of the Dead, which I thought was phenomenal? I thought that was excellent. I thought that was the movie that kind of put him in the spotlight a little bit. So Bill N says they loved Rebel Moon. It was fun and Star Warsy. And that's what a lot of people have said is it's just a Star Wars ripoff. A lot of movies out there are Star Wars ripoffs. So you could say the last trilogy was kind of a Star Wars ripoff if you like. So Kevin R. Smith says, wow, they apparently blew a ton of money in a relatively short time. Bad crypto bets or hookers and blow? Who knows? I don't know. So, like I said, I'm not going to repeat a bunch of things that are in the article. You can certainly read it for yourself. But like I said, best case scenario, problematic company. Worst case scenario, not a company I want to promote in any way, shape, or form. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think I saw the Madman was chiming in. Said they refuse to touch any of it until it becomes a standard, too much unknown yet for them. I think he's talking about Everyday Heroes. I don't know. So W. Forge says, actually, the director's cut of Rebel Moon will probably be better. You could tell where they edited for violence. Yeah, because I think the director's cut is going to be R. So just like a lot of people couldn't stand Watchmen, I liked it. I thought Watchmen was pretty good. And that comes from somebody who's read Watchmen quite a few times. So W. Forge says they destroyed the Rebel Moon rules. Yeah, I think they did. I think they had to. I think they were ordered to get rid of them. So Bill N says, if anyone was interested in Everyday Heroes, just have a look at Ultramodern 5e instead. Oh, Madman was talking about Bitcoin. Sorry about that. So anyways, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Other thing I wanted to talk about, as Flaming Heron says, Watchmen was damn good. And the director's cut of that is pretty good too. Little long. Could you use a couple of trims, maybe to shave off about 10 minutes? But I thought it was pretty good. Chris Lundgren says they still like Starship Troopers, the miniatures game. It was good but short-lived. There was a recent Starship Troopers video game that came out, which I believe was a real-time strategy game. Some people were talking about they were pretty good. It was a pretty decent game. I don't know. I'm not taking a peek at it. I never got involved in any of the sequels or anything like that for Starship Troopers. I liked the movie. It is certainly not in step with Robert Heinlein and what he was getting at in his book. But still, yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty cool. It's a pretty good movie. If it was on TV and I had nothing to do, I would not turn it off. I would certainly watch it. So anyway, Russell Higgins is with us. Did I say hello to Russell? Maybe not. Maybe. You know me. I always like to try to make sure I say hello to everybody who pops into chat. Just how I am. It's how my mom and dad raised me. That's all I can tell you. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is I have gotten some comments as of late. And I don't know if it's the same person or not. I didn't really dig too deeply into it. But I've gotten comments from people who say that as far as role-playing game reviews, you really shouldn't share a role-playing game review unless you've run it a few times. And that if you haven't run it, then you can't really review it. And I was kind of curious how folks in chat thought about that. And of course, if you're someone who doesn't have an opportunity to watch live, by all means, please comment in the comments section. Now, I can see where they're coming from. I can certainly see where they're coming from, but good luck finding an outlet that isn't just covering one game system. So, such as Pathfinder, 5e D&D, Call of Cthulhu, what have you. Like Seth Sirkowski, I know I mispronounced that. I always do. I believe he always runs the adventures that he reviews. And unless something's changed, I know that he does Traveler and Call of Cthulhu. There might be something else along with that. But, yeah, oh, there we go. No Inquisitor is actually tossing out something that I was going to bring up. And anyway, so outside of that, and I'm not aware of too many people who actually run stuff to review it for quite a few different reasons. Number one, you know, getting things out in a timely manner is important with YouTube. So if like a new adventure came out or an adventure release came out for Call of Cthulhu, let's say it's a new campaign that comes out, it's 250 pages. 6 months later, are you going to review it? You're not going to get all that many viewers as you would have if you did the review when you finished reading it. So, No Inquisitor says, by that logic, and this is where I was going to, movie reviewers should direct movies and political commenters should run for Congress. It's ludicrous. GameCat says, that's silly. Your experience is invaluable. See, that's something else I'll mention. Chris says, Jeff, that is bullcrap. You can review based on reading an overview of the RPG rules. Well, I never do a review based on an overview. I read the books. I read the adventures cover to cover. So I do not skim. So the Madman says, oh, he's talking about Starship Troopers. Says, I always assumed Starship Troopers actor Casper Van Dien would be an ass. From what I've seen at Dragon Con, the Madman always talking about Dragon Con. I'm kidding. He was great with the fans, taking pics with them and coming out from behind the table. Yeah, to be honest, I had always heard that he was a pretty good guy at like conventions and stuff, which we know is certainly not the case. Kathy Evans says, you can't play every game. Each person has to choose a game to play based on the materials they provide. So Bill N says, nothing wrong with first looks. Well, yeah, that's what I tend to do. Or post-read reviews. Anyway, so I was just pointing out that I get these people who are like, oh, how could you review that? You didn't run it. No, but I've been running role-playing games for 40 fucking years. I think I got a clue. Think I got an idea. I think I got an idea. When I read something, I go, how would most players respond to that? I think I got an idea. I think that's the biggest deal of it is, you know, just like you'll see channels that only deal with one system. 5e D&D, great example. And the host of that outlet, the content creator of that outlet, might be relatively new to the hobby. And the only game they've ever run is 5e D&D. So when they do a review of a 5e D&D adventure, does that make it a better review because they ran it? Even though we all know there are horrible game masters out there. There are absolutely terrible game masters out there. And some of those horrible game masters have YouTube channels. So Kevin R. Smith says, the argument has some validity for playability. I agree. But you can still review the book based on organization, clarity, etc. But I think a lot of issues will be apparent from a thorough read. Did I run Planescape? No. Thank God. But could I tell that it was just rife with problems? Oh, yeah. Did I talk about those problems? Oh, yeah. Flaming Aaron says, a review is just an opinion, not how to play it. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. I do state quite often, just an opinion. Reviews are just opinions. I know people get upset when I like something they don't like, or I'm not necessarily blown away by something they absolutely love. Kevin R. Smith says, the one game I know that plays better than it reads is Numenera Cipher System. A lot of things, particularly getting one experience point for you and another experience point for another player from GM intrusions, seemed weird. GameCat says, you'd need some sort of clone army to play all the games you've brought people's attention to. So a clone army, and then he retracted it. Or maybe not a he. Just say GameCat retracted that. Anyway, it's not like it doesn't piss me off or anything. I just sit and think to myself, how could anybody expect a reviewer who reviews as many games as I do and share coverage of as many games as I do, run every single role-playing system and adventure that gets covered here? No, absolutely not. W. Forge says they remember reading 4th edition D&D and they knew they wouldn't like it. The only version of Dungeons & Dragons they never played. Chris Lundgren says on a fun note, their wife got them an almost pristine copy of the 4th printing of Holmes' D&D Blue Starter Rulebook. I think I saw you. I think you posted a picture of it on Facebook, and I gave it a like. I know I'm always kicking around getting a white box and getting a copy of Basic Experts and Holmes. But the thing is, it's like, I don't have that kind of money. And the funny thing is, I had all of those, but, I didn't run OD&D. I didn't play O&D. I just had it. This was back in the day when I was buying tons of role-playing game stuff and board games and all these other things because I was a 13-year-old who had a part-time job, not mowing the lawn or anything. I think I've said this before. I actually went and got a fake ID so that I could go get a part-time job after school. That's why I always laughed when I saw The Breakfast Club and Anthony Michael Hall has a fake ID, and it's the vote, of course. It's kind of like, oh, well, I got a fake ID so I could go. And nobody made me. I wanted to. I wanted to. So I had money. I mean, it wasn't like I was working a 40-hour week or something like that. But I was one of these people who, on a Saturday night, it was like, I want to go to the movies. I want to go see whatever. And, I'd have friends, I don't have money. Be like, all right, I'm paying. Or it'd be like, okay, I'll pay for Elliot. See the rest of you guys later. So Chris is pointing out that that was on Noble Knight, and they were shocked at how cheap it was. eBay's way overpriced. Funny enough, usually when I've looked at Noble Knight, their prices are pretty high on some stuff. Now, I'm not knocking Noble Knight at all because they do seem to be a pretty good locale for getting your hands on. Well, I'll give you an example. They usually have Knights and Magic in stock, which is the miniatures game that I own the rights to, that I sell in PDF, that came out in like 1980. So that's nearly impossible to find in its box. with the little spell book that came with it. They usually have that. In available. Kevin R. Smith says they got the 4th edition player's handbook just in case it was the only game in town. Most gamers in Kevin's area stayed with 3.5 or switched to Pathfinder 1st edition. Russell Higgins says a review is telling me what it's like. It's like Rollmaster. It's like old school D&D for the genre. It's pulp fiction, pulp horror, etc. Don't have to run those to tell me what you think it's like. That's pretty much what my reviews normally do. Russell Higgins says, I can make the decision from there. Jen F., welcome aboard, says, the fact that your reviews identify who might like a game even when you don't speaks volumes. No playthrough necessary. That's what I try to do. Like, as an example, I sort of get the impression that Dreams and Machines, which I'm just recently, I had shared the first look for the player's guide and the game master's guide. As well put together as those are, as nice as a production quality is, I really do get the feeling it's not my sort of game. And I had that feeling from the starter set, which once again, really nicely done. But as weird as this sounds, and this isn't the review yet, okay, because I haven't read both the books cover to cover, but just from the page through and knowing the starter set after having reviewed it, as strange as this might sound, the game feels sort of childish. And I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. If you've seen the starter set review or even the first look, you'll know what I'm getting at, where it just looks as if it is aimed at preteens. But I don't think the game is. Don't know. We'll find out. No Linquisitor says comedian Cat Williams. Yeah, I saw some of that. Has a bit about telling haters do their job. To be glorious in yourself, you have to collect them. Like the spice, the reviews must flow. Well, speaking of the spice, maybe you saw today's video for Modifius Entertainment Week. It's the Arrakis source book for Dune. Flaming Hero says, okay, core books generally don't have adventures, so does that also mean designing on to play? Oh, designing one to play. I have to say that I'd like to see, and I know a lot of people out there do not like to see adventures in core rule books. I do. I like to see adventures in core books, even if it's just to give me an idea of the sort of format that publisher for that system plans on utilizing for their adventures. I like to see that. And I also like to see a good adventure in the book also. So you may have seen my review of the Deadlands Companion, which I did not run. It's a companion book, even though it does have an adventure in it. And really like the companion. Thought the adventure is kind of a stinker. Thought it was, and the funny thing is, it's actually an adventure that was originally published in Shadis Magazine, or Shadis Magazine, however it was pronounced, which was an excellent magazine, don't get me wrong. But most magazine adventures, not too hot. Although different worlds usually had decent adventures. And yeah, I will say a lot of people have a soft spot for Dungeon Magazine. I do not. I think most of the Dungeon Magazine adventures were pretty crappy. And no, it's not like I'm down on all things Dungeons and Dragons just because I'm not tackling any more 5e and or nothing from Wizards of the Coast. No, I still have my soft spot for first edition D&D. But just being honest that I don't think Dungeon was that great a magazine. I know a lot of people out there loved it. A lot of the adventures were pretty clunky. Love this as nice student segue. Yeah. No Inquisitor and I, we had planned that ahead of the show, just gonna slide that on in. Chris Lundgren says they have mixed feelings of an adventure in a core book because, hate to say it, some people read it and then cheat, but I edit and change in case, but it's nice otherwise. See, I'm in luck. My players, they've never been ones to go like buy adventures that I'm running. So like Elliot never ran out and bought Massive Nyarlathotep or any Call of Cthulhu adventures. He did pick up the core book once, and I think it was for 4th edition Call of Cthulhu. So, but he never did that. And then, of course, like my friends Ed, or Elliot's nephew Paul, my nephew Cameron, my niece Madison, their friends, my brother. I mean, they're not, well, okay, I take it. My nephew Cameron is pretty into tabletop games, but the rest of them are sort of like, yeah, they'll play and they have fun, but they're not going to go out of their way to like go buy something so they could read it. So, now I know what's coming. And I, like Chris, things change. I never run an adventure as written, ever. W. Forge says the same thing. They always tinker with adventures that they get. I think a lot of the tinkering I do is on the fly. I don't plan things like, I'm going to change this unless it's something kind of clunky. But a lot of times as the adventure's unfolding at the table, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to drop this. Okay, that plot point, it's that. I don't think that's going to fit anymore. So, Chris also points out they liked several of the original Dragon magazine adventures in the early years. I've actually got the Dragon magazines on disc, which, of course, I copied over to a hard drive, or I should say, a portable drive. I have not read most of them. Now, there was a period of time when I was in high school that I'd say probably about a year and a half that I was reading Dragon religiously. So I would say out of all the issues of Dragon magazine, I have read probably 25. Flaming Heron says, I like the fact they tinkered with the enemy within for 4th edition. So they gave an option for people who played it before. Yes, that was kind of cool how that was done for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Yes. Grant is pretty nice. He is a pretty nice guy. So anyway, but yes, there were a variety of different options for you to change things in the director's cut of the enemy within, in case your players had played stuff before. And it was kind of funny because it was like, so your players are going to expect this, but then this is going to happen instead. Bill N says, sometimes change or reverse things in a published adventure. If someone's cheating, it trips them up. W. Forge says, the best thing is when a player comes up with a great suggestion, and then I pretend that they just read my mind. That's exactly what I was thinking. All right. Very nice. Very nice. So like I said, I am not one who feels that in order to review a role-playing game or a role-playing game adventure that I need to run them. Of course, if I'm reviewing a board game, yes, I need to have played that. And we do aim to play a board game 3 times before it gets a review, because you'd be amazed how many times you play a game for the first time and you're playing it wrong. It's happened quite often, actually. All righty, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also inform you when I share other videos, such as my current Modifius Entertainment Week and tomorrow's first look at the 2nd edition Fragged Empire setting guide. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I was very pleasantly surprised how colorful and how much more illustrations and things like that are in the setting guide compared to the rule book as far as doing a page through. Now, it is very possible the rule book had a lot more art. I was just missing it because I was just randomly paging through it. But I think the setting book has got more artwork in it. Anywho, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on the YouTube channel. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, big tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Yes. I will be back tomorrow. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And here's hoping all of you out there get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.